To me, Skip just needs to know when to take a back seat when it comes to certain conversations. What up, YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about Richard Sherman and Skip Bayless. Seems to be going at it already on Undisputed, and people kind of pointed this clip out as a nod to be like, well, this is something or one of the reasons that Shannon Sharpe ended up leaving Undisputed.
Back in week 4, and he went crazy about the Giants because they hip dropped him, and he said by the grace of God he survived the hip drop, and now we see Jordan Travis.
What
the problem is,
what's crazy is the Geno Smith
let me
one was
finish,
to
Richard. I'm speaking. Thank you.
I'll let you speak, but you're not speaking from experience. So stop raising your voice, Skip.
Okay.
Talk to me, Skip.
All right. Are you going to let me speak or not?
Well, you're speaking on something you don't have no experience doing. So, I mean, what point can you really make?
I've covered the game for a lot longer than you've been alive.
You've covered the game. Yeah. I've actually played the game longer than you ever played. So, like, what we're talking about is something that actually happens in the game that you can't experience unless you play it.
Does Rich McCain know anything about football? Keyshawn, help me.
Not gonna lie, at the end of that, of him begging Keyshawn to help him is kind of crazy. But he has had this reputation for trying to take personal jabs and attacks, even with people who he brings on, as like a way of, oh, well, because I brought you on or I put you on, I can talk to you any kind of way. I don't think Richard Sherman is the one to do that with, Skip, because he's probably the last one you should do it to, because I think everybody remembers that famous debacle that happened back when Skip was still part of First Take.
That's what I leave it up to. I mean, you can say whatever you want. Skip can say whatever he wants, but Skip, whenever you refer to me, whenever you speak to me, whenever you address me as all-pro Stanford graduate, because those are some accomplishments you can aspire to, you will never accomplish. You have never accomplished anything. So, but those things are on my resume. Those are what I've done. It's my second year in the NFL, going on my third. I mean, you tell me who's wrong.
Okay, I'll accept that. I think I've accomplished more in my field than you have in yours, though you're just getting started.
So I'm the top of my field. So I'm all pro. I'm the best, one of the best 22 players in the NFL. You're going to brush it off, but I don't think you're the best 22 anything in sports and in media and anything. I think you think more of yourself than you actually can, prove. But
okay. Do you think you're better than Darrelle Revis is right now?
In my 24 years of life, I'm better at life than you.
And what's crazy, all this seems to stem from a Jordan Travis injury that he suffered at the South Alabama game, which if you were to debate with other people who are a fan of the sport, they would probably tell you, well, for this game, South Alabama, you could have just sat Jordan Travis and held him for the last game. But who knows? He probably would have still got injured anyway, maybe in a different fashion. But because of the tackle specifically that ensued, the hip drop, which when you see it don't even look that violent. It's just like, hey, I'm just pushing you down to the ground to make sure you're not trying to run over me. And you got the NFL already looking into getting rid of that move. At that point, what are y'all doing with the league? Like, I understand there's certain moves that can't be allowed in the league, like targeting of the helmet, like, because that can really have a negative effect to not only the defender, but the offensive player as well. Like, you lead with the crown of your helmet, y'all both could get knocked out and end up getting carted off for all we know. But if the NFL does in fact get rid of that, and they do in fact enforce a rule where you can't do a hip drop tackle, then that's gonna really, like, I'm gonna really start believing that the NFL is gonna solve. Say you can't tackle him because of that. Like, there's so many ways this could turn about. Like, if we start seeing injuries that happen after a player gets pulled down by his leg and he has a hammy, or he tears his ACL, then what? It's going to become flag football at that point. Even though Skip Bayless may have covered the game of football for over 30 years or however long, it don't mean you know more than the actual athlete that really busted their ass, like spent blood, sweat, and tears on a football field for 60 minutes just for our entertainment or our news coverage. They have more inside knowledge to the game at what is, or what they would consider a bang bang play, a dirty play, and a clean play. And mind you, they only wanted to do this because of the injury that Jordan Travis sustained. If he had never got hurt on that play, this would even be a conversation. But there's so many plays where players on the defensive side of the ball get injured on, and unless it's like an offensive pass interference thing, you're not going to hear no one talk about, oh, well, we need to look into these, like, because the defensive players are getting hurt now. No, like, they only want to change the rules when offensive players get hurt. You hardly ever see a time where they want to change the rules when a defensive player gets hurt. But if Skip Bayless isn't careful, he'll end up running off Richard Sherman the same way that he came in. I don't know, this whole conversation would kind of be the equivalent of, let's say me, somebody who makes YouTube videos, sitting here saying, well, I know based on my coverage of video games, or based on my coverage of pop culture, I know the ins and outs to the industry, when in fact, I don't know jack shit. To me, Skip just needs to know when to take a back seat when it comes to certain conversations and be the listener instead of the person who's leading the conversation. The people who should lead the convo are Keyshawn and Richard Sherman, and not Skip Bayless. Skip should just piggyback off what they say. But y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments. Till next time, I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.